To understand just how extreme Zohran Mamdani is, all you have to do is listen to the stuff that he says. So, Mamdani just a couple of days ago did an interview on Fox News with Martha MacCallum, and Martha did a fabulous job interviewing Mamdani. Mamdani has taken a wide variety of extraordinarily insane positions. Some of them he has walked back because he understands that they actually are politically toxic. So one of the ones that he walked back was his criticism of the NYPD. So Mamdani, not all that long ago, was saying that the NYPD was racist and quote-unquote anti-queer. And again, that is the sort of stuff that makes you popular with the Democratic Party primary base, but is unlikely to make you popular with the generic voter in New York City, where it turns out people hate crime more than they hate the police. And so Mamdani was forced to back off of that at least a little bit by Martha MacCallum.
You said in the past, I almost don't need to go through it, it's been said many times, but that you called the police force racist, said they were a major threat to public safety, called them wicked and corrupt. And now the report that you apologized to 24 members of the NYPD. What did you say to them?
I apologized for the language that I used, and I spoke to them about the fact that I want to work with them to deliver public safety. Because what we're seeing in the city right now is we're asking officers to do nearly everything we can think of. We used to ask officers to focus on serious crimes. Now we're asking them to focus also on the mental health crisis, to focus also on homelessness. In 1 year alone, the NYPD receives 200,000 mental health calls.
Police officers that I spoke to, they don't want a behind closed doors apology. They want a broad public apology for the things that you suggested about them. Will you do that right now?
Absolutely. I'll apologize to police officers right here, because this is the apology that I've been sharing with many rank and file officers. And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers, and I know that these officers, these men and women who serve in the NYPD, they put their lives on the line every single day.
So, again, what's hilarious about all of this is that no one in the NYPD believes Zohran Mamdani. No one. I have friends who are in the NYPD. They do not believe him. They believe that he is mouthing these slogans in order to win over the so-called moderate Democrats who are probably going to vote for Mamdani in the actual New York City election, which is happening the week after next. But the fact that he feels the need to back off of that is because the anti-police position is such a luxury belief that even the Democratic Party can't actually sustain it for very long. They tried it in 2020, the anti-police position, and it was really quite bad for them. It led to broad-scale riots. It led to an increase in crime between the Ferguson riots of 2014 and essentially 2022. And so now they're being forced to back away from these crazy positions. But what does Zohran Mamdani actually believe? Well, he actually believes the thing that he's apologizing for. He doesn't like the police. And if you think that he is going to give broader purview to the police to actually stop crime in New York City, you're out of your mind. Because what actually is Zohran Mamdani? He is absolutely radical, and the signaling is how you can tell. To whom is he signaling? And the answer is the most radical parts of his base. And the best part for him, the feature, again, not a bug. Everyone keeps getting this wrong in the media. They keep pretending that Zohran Mamdani's radicalism about the Middle East is actually somehow an inhibitor to his political success. Wrong. In New York City, with the Democratic primary base, it is in fact an aphrodisiac. Now, Mamdani did a mayoral debate yesterday with Andrew Cuomo, the former Democrat governor of New York, and Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate. What the polls show right now is that Mamdani is the front runner, but he's still in the mid 40% range, that Curtis Sliwa is running in the teens, and that Andrew Cuomo is running in the high 20s. So the basic theory goes that if you wish to stop Mamdani from becoming mayor of New York, basically Sliwa has to drop out and endorse Cuomo. My guess is that probably will happen sometime in the next week or so, because there's really no upside at this point for Sliwa continuing the run. I like Curtis. I think Curtis is a nice guy. Curtis is a radio host. I've been on a show. Like, all of that's wonderful. Also, he has no shot of actually being the mayor of New York, and every vote for Sliwa at this point is a vote for Mamdani, because it prevents Andrew Cuomo, the only real challenger in the city of New York, from being able to become mayor. How extreme is Zohran Mamdani? Again, it's not just that he is pro-jihad. Zohran Mamdani, I mean, again, he uses the cover of quote-unquote international law and human rights to defend the worst jihadists on planet Earth, which you'll find to be a common trait among people who are quote-unquote defenders of international law, defenders of the International Criminal Court or the International Court of Justice or the United Nations. People who cite international law while defending those who routinely violate it. But Zohran Mamdani is also a Marxist who's going to wreck the city of New York. So in the debate, last night, Zohran Mamdani said that he is in fact going to make busing in New York City free because nothing will make busing safer or cleaner than making it absolutely free. Quick, name a government service that has not become more degraded as a result of being quote unquote free, meaning fully funded by the taxpayers. You cannot. In any case, here is Zohran Mamdani saying that the way he's going to pay for that free busing is with taxes. Now, again, the nice thing about the busing system in New York is not wildly expensive. It just isn't. And this idea that if you want to take buses in New York City, it's going to bankrupt you. Look at the cost structure on the New York City transit system. It has one of the strongest transit systems in probably the world, certainly in the United States. But Mamdani wants to bring that price down to zero. How? By taxing the only people who are generating revenue in his city, obviously.
But the question is how you'll make them free.
We will fund the revenue that would have otherwise been brought in from fares. And that's something that we would do in partnership with Albany. And I've put forward two proposals. The first is to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers by 2%. That would raise $4 billion. The second is to raise the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey, which would raise $5 billion.
Okay, by the way, I'm just going to point out here again, I asked Comet, a project of Perplexity, one of our sponsors, what exactly the transit fares are right now in New York City. Apparently, as of October 2025, the standard fare for riding a New York City MTA local bus is $2.90 per ride. Express buses cost $7 per ride. And there are, in fact, reduced fare options for eligible groups like seniors and low-income residents who may pay as little as $1.45 per local bus ride. Ain't nobody going bankrupt because they are taking the New York City bus. I understand that everything sounds great when it's quote-unquote free, but raising taxes in New York City, already one of the most overtaxed jurisdictions in the United States, that is a fool's errand. Zohran Mamdani, by the way, has also come out in favor of a gigantic quote-unquote millionaires tax, which is just going to drive all revenue creators out of the city. This is how you empty out a great American city, by the way. You raise the cost of public services. You tax everybody who can pay the tax. All those people are mobile because they have money, and then they leave, and your tax base gets undercut. And in order to compensate for the worst public services, you then start raising debt. You then start taxing the people who remain, and then they leave. And that's how you end up in a death spiral for a city. Meanwhile, Zohran Mamdani would also love to apparently decriminalize prostitution because there's nothing that sounds better than bringing Times Square back to the hellscape that it was before Rudy Giuliani with women street walking. I can't, New Yorkers, I guess that the theory of democracy is every 40, 30 years or so, we just have to repeat the mistakes of the past and then relearn why this was incredibly stupid. And I guess if you put an unbelievably smarmy face on all of this, people buy into it. And this dude is a smarm machine. Zohran Mamdani is just a machine that generates nuclear levels of smarm. It really is incredible. Here is Zohran Mamdani, a man who cannot bench press 135 pounds, speaking to you like a substitute middle school teacher who watches too much Rachel Maddow.
And to follow the advice of district attorneys that we have here in New York City, the current Manhattan DA, the former Manhattan DA, the current Brooklyn DA, the former Manhattan DA having said that prosecuting women for prostitution is something that actually leads to less safety. And what we need to do is provide an economy
Mr. Mamdani,
of opportunity.
Just a quick clarification. So no legalization, how about decriminalization?
I do not think that we should be prosecuting women who are struggling, who are currently being thrown in jail, and then being offered job opportunities. I think we should be actually providing those kinds of opportunities at the first point of interaction.
So, I don't understand even his theory, but at the first point of interaction, so what? You see a lady on the street walking, charging some John a bunch of money and suddenly you just walk up to her with like a job application? This is his theory? This is his great theory, Zohran Mamdani? By the way, it's not as though this stuff hasn't been tried. Again, prostitution was effectively decriminalized in New York City for a couple of decades in the 70s and 80s. Just watch a movie from the 70s and 80s. And it didn't work out amazingly well for quality of life in New York City. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.